Hi, today we are going to condense into a single log. This is going to help us when we start solving logarithmic equations and help us get to where we have a single logarithm on the side that has multiple. And so this is going to be reverse of what we just did. So the rules are still the same. We still have those same set of rules, but let's look at it from the other perspective. And so if I have log base 5 of 7 plus log base 5 of 6, what that is I need to multiply these two numbers. So that's log base 5 of 7 times 6, which is 42. If I have two logarithms being subtracted, again, the bases need to be matching, but log base 5 of 8 minus log base 5 of 2 is going to combine by being the division. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so log base 5 of 4. Oops, this other one kind of got covered up over on the side. Let me rewrite that. So if I have 6 times log base 4 of 7, or let's go ahead and do this as a smaller number, 2, that's the same thing as me saying log base 4 of 2 to the 6th power. And so when you raise into a power, if it's a small number, you can go ahead and find that number. So 2 to the 6th power. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 more is 8, times 2 more is 16, times 2 more is 32, times 2 more is 64. So log base 4 of 64. And so now we're getting down into those rules that are just going back to how do they work when we have exponential. So if I had an exponential problem, let's go ahead and just fish this one. 5 to the x is equal to 1. So what would that number have to be? What power do I need to raise a number to get back to 1? And the answer to that is 0. And so log base 5 of 1 is equal to 0. Let's look at this next one. So if you have log base anything of 1, you're going to get 0. Log base 5 of 5. If those numbers match, what will it look like? Well, let's look and see. What would that exponent need to be? That exponent would need to be 1, and so that would be 1. What would this one need to be? Well, it's the same thing we had last lesson. These would cancel out, leaving just the 4. And you can fish it to see how that looks. These would cancel out, leaving you the 7. And like I said, if you want to fish those, you can see how they apply. Let's look at just doing a couple of basic ones. So A was log base 3 of x plus log base 3 of y. So we have it being separated by addition, so that means we need to multiply those two numbers. So log base 3 of xy. B. We have log base 7 of 5 minus log base 7 of t. So we are being separated by subtraction, so that means I need to divide those numbers. So log base 7 of 5 divided by t. C. I have 5 times log base 4 of x plus 1. So that 5 will come up as my exponent. So log base 4 of x plus 1 raised to the 5th power. Let's look at D through G. D is just that simple rule that you have to memorize. Log base 9 of 1. So anything raised to the 0 power is going to get you that 1, so that's going to be 0. Or like I said, you can fish that to see if you have troubles memorizing that rule. These last several can be found by just fishing. So log base 14 of 14. These numbers match, so that number is a 1. Log base 23 of 23 to the 5th. These match, so they cancel out, giving you just the 5. And G. 8 times log base 8 of x plus 2y. The bases match, so that cancels out, just leaving you the last portion, and so your answer is x plus 2y. Oops, I forgot to add an extra page for those. So let's look at it when we have a list of them and we need to figure out how do we need to combine these. So I always start with, is there any exponents? If there is, move them. So I'm moving my exponents. So the number being multiplied in front becomes an exponent, remember. And so we have log base 5 of x squared plus log base 5 of y cubed minus log base 5 of x to the 7th. Now let's look and see what other operations we have here. We have the addition and we have the subtraction. This is going to translate to multiplication, and this is going to translate to a division. We only write our log once. So log base 5. These two are going to get multiplied, and so we have x squared y cubed, and then we're going to divide by this last one, x to the 7th. Now, is there anything that we can do to simplify this? If we look here, we have x's in the numerator and denominator. So let's go ahead and simplify our exponents. And so our largest number is in the denominator, so that means it's going to subtract and stay in the denominator. Log base 5 of y cubed divided by x to the 5 minus 2 is, or 7 minus 2 is 5. And so that is my condensed answer. Let's look at this next one. So we need to figure out when it's divided by 3, what's another way of writing it? Another way of writing that is 1/3 times log base 7 of 20. So let's move that exponent up. And so we end up with log base 7 of 20 to the 1/3. Well, we don't leave it with a fractional exponent there. So we need to convert this into the power over root. And so we have that 3 is our root, so the cubed root of 20 raised to the first power, which we don't have to write first. So that's the final answer. Let's look at this next one. So we have the log base 4 of 10 plus log base 4 of 7 divided by 2, log base 4 of 9 divided by 2. When you have two numbers divided by the same thing, let's go ahead and work on that section first. And so we're going to leave that log base 4 of 10 alone for right now. Let's bring that 1/2 out. And that's the way it's going to look. Now we have that exponent to work with. So let's move the exponent up. Some of you may be able to shortcut this and go straight into an easy number to work with. And so we have here log base 4 of 10 plus log base 4 of 7 to the 1/2 plus log base 4 of 9 to the 1/2. So let's translate those into the radical. Log base 4 of 10 plus log base 4 of the radical is going to be index of 2, so square root of 7, plus log base 4 of the square root of 9. And so let's talk about how this next step is going to happen. If these two radicals could not be taken the square root of, there was not something you could take the square root of, you would multiply the 7 times 9, and that would be under your radical. But we can take the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is 3. And so we are going to rewrite this log base 4 of 10 plus log base 4 of square root of 7 plus log base 4 of 3. Now we're going to multiply these numbers. Well, the 10 and the 3 are outside the radical, so we multiply those together first. So log base 4 of 10 times 3, which is 30. And then the radical goes next, 7. Oops, so did not mean to go to the next one. So that's it.